Our topic for today would be about tawag dito, about the philosophical approaches of man. I hope sa previous discussion natin, malinaw na sa inyo kung ano ba yung tinatawag natin doon, um, philosophical inquiry or what is, yun nga, how do we do philosophy? Okay. Ngayon naman, syempre, malinaw din na sinabi ko din sa inyo na ito yung philosophizing at ang philosophizing should be producing a pragmatical solution to a relevant problem, because all the problems you experience is actually a shared problem because we are just living in a same world. Okay. Ang topic natin ngayon is paano nga naman natin ina-approach yung mga problema natin sa lipunan. Kasi malinaw na kung ano ang philosophical inquiry. So ano naman ngayon yung approach natin sa mga problemang nakikita natin sa philosophical inquiry natin. Okay, let's now go with the philosophical approaches to the study of man. Actually, isa ito sa mga readings na pinabasa ko sa inyo. Meron dalawang readings dito. Una is Existentialism and Man's Search for Meaning by Manuel D. himself. Wow. Okay, the other one would be, I think this would be our next meeting topic, is the Being as Subject by Robert O. Johan. I think, in-assign ko ba to or ito na naman ako, na mali na naman ako nang-assign sa inyo? Okay. So, let's go now first with the first reading. Existentialism and Man's Search for Meaning by Manuel D. So, yun nga, itong reading na ito ay nasa book mismo ng Philosophy of Man by D. Okay, na sinend ko sa inyong PDF copy, or if you want a physical copy na gusto nyo i-xerox, is meron tayo sa library. Feel free to xerox it or to visit our library. Okay. So dito, gaya nga ng sabi ko, if it is already clear na ang philosophical inquiry, okay, the previous topic natin help us to understand how philosophy or philosophical inquiry came to be, and how philosophical inquiry tries to answer the questions or tensions in relation with our past experience, present experience, and of course, the future experience na meron tayo. And dapat, tawag doon, at dapat ang solusyon na ibibigay natin ay relevant, okay, or meron siyang practical usefulness, and at the same time, dapat ang ating mga solution sa mga problemang binibigay natin or ang philosophy itself should not be for the knowledge sake. Rather, it should be for justice. Okay? Ng lipunan, kung ano man yung justice na nakikita natin na angkop sa lipunan natin. Tulad ng excuse me po. Tulad na lang ng tulad na lang ng flood control project. 'Di ba? Some of you may think, ay ito po, halimbawa, nag-aaral kayo sa isang subject nyo, some of you may think na, uy, maganda atang philosopher to para sa flood control project. Okay? Kasi itong philosopher na to can give us a rather theoretical framework in order for us to solve the problem with the flood control project. Some of you would think na, yun nga, ibang mga Pilipino, iniisip nila death penalty na lang. Diba? Or some of them would think na dapat buwagin na lang. Diba? Yung ahensya mismo. Okay? Pero nonetheless, diba? Ito yung diniscuss natin in the previous topic. So right now, ano ba kaya ang possible approaches natin sa mga problema ng nakakaharapan natin or na-identify natin doon sa philosophical inquiry? Ang una dito is yung existentialism. Take note, ang subject natin, yes, it is a philosophical anthropology. At sabi ko din sa inyo before, what is better to study human beings or man or woman, ourselves, is to study ourselves. Bakit kailangan pa natin lumayo? Okay, kung kaya naman pala natin pag-aralan yung sarili natin. And ayun nga, may mga philosopher na mismo, yun ang kanilang pag-aaral. Di na natin siguro kailangan natin balikan pa rin si Plato. Of course, kasi bago natin ma-encounter mismo ang existentialism ay nanggaling ang kanilang idea mismo sa mga earlier philosopher. So yun nga, hindi ka basta-basta tatalong sa existentialism, sa phenomenology, without the foundation of these early Greek philosophers the modern philosophers, and so on and so forth. Okay? Pero tandaan din natin, since ang subject natin ay philosophical anthropology, hindi po tayo phenomenology and existentialism. Okay? Ito din yung isang pinag-iingat ko sa aking approach sa subject natin. Yes, gaya nga nasabi ko, what is the better way to study human beings or ourselves is to study mismo ang sarili natin, which is the phenomenology and existentialism natin. But the problem with that, of course, may subject din kasi kayo, phenomenology and existentialism. Okay. So, syempre, ililimit ko lang yung topic natin para syempre hindi naman tayo magkaroon ng redundancy when it comes to the subject. Okay. At take note, syempre, okay, meron talaga tayong professor na specialized sa phenomenology and existentialism. Ito ay si Ma'am Chloe. Okay. May subject kayo in the future na phenomenology and existentialism. So, I think mas magandang siya na lang yung talungin nyo when it comes to the topic na i-discuss natin ngayon. Actually, ang topic natin ngayon is basically existentialism. The next topic naman natin is phenomenology. So, as you can see, yun nga, yun actually ang sakop ng ating dalawang topic or basically ang kurso natin. Pero yun nga, kasi ayoko maging redundant, ililimit ko lang. So, ano ba ang sinasabi ni Manuel D. sa existentialism and man's search for meaning? Sabi niya, di ba, the Western definition of philosophy as the love or search of wisdom originated from the Greeks. Di ba? Na kung saan, sinasabi nila, man was seen as a microcosm and the search for truth about man was simultaneously the search for truth about the universe. Alam natin kasi ang philosophy, siya yung kauna-unahang school of thought. Okay, mas nauna pa siya sa science, if you're quite aware of that, na kung saan tinatry niya i-answer yung mga question na na-raise ng mga tao. We do not know when it started. Okay? Some would say Greece is the, di ba, the, tawag dun, starting point of philosophy. Pero of course, we are quite aware of that na may mas nauna pa sa Greeks na mga taong capable of higher thinking. Yes. Di ba? Yes, Greeks ang unang nagtanong ng philosophy, pero yun nga, Greeks kasi ang naisulat natin. Pero di ba, before the Greeks themselves, meron tayong mga Egyptians, Aztecs, wala tayong savings ng kanilang writing. Okay, kasi nakita na lang natin sa kanila is yung mga naiwan nilang mga specimens or architecture. Okay, so we do not know actually when philosophy started itself. Because when I say the starting point of philosophy, ito yung awareness ng human being. Kung kailan tayo naging conscious kung bakit tayo nag-i-exist. Okay? Like I said, Greeks lang ang merong record. Pero may evidence na before Greeks, ay marami na tayong civilization na may nagpapakita ng higher thinking skills like the Greeks. Pero sila lang ang nakapag-record na syempre nag-reflect sa ating human history. So we do not know when philosophy started because remember, philosophy started when a person or a human being asked a very first question. At yun nga, fortunately, di ba, ang first question na i-record natin, okay, or the first two questions that was raised, okay, is the what is the meaning of life and the what is the primary substance that contains all things. Pero like I said, ito lang yung na-record natin. We do not know kasi may evidence nga na 10,000 years ago, okay, kaya na ng tao kasi mag-create ng temples, nagsasamba na sila sa mga Diyos. Siyempre, may philosophical explanation sila doon. Okay. We do not know when it started. Pero yun nga, philosophy, okay, siya yung actually search for wisdom. Na kung saan naghahanap tayo ng truth. Pero tandaan natin, okay, yes, D has explained that justice or philosophy should go towards justice, especially if we're trying to answer a philosophical inquiry. But at the same time, philosophy is searching for the truth. Yun nga, every time we ask questions or we try to answer a philosophical inquiry, we always go to the truth. Okay, sabi nga dito, truth was the immutable object of theory. The episteme and the man's ideal what was its contemplation. Yun nga, bakit nga ba tayo magtatanong? Kasi gusto mong may malaman. At syempre, ang nalalaman mo, hindi lang random na nalalaman, gusto mo, malalaman mo din is something to do with truth. Diba? Usually nga, ang mga branches natin sa philosophy, diba? 7 yun, diba? 7 kung maalala ko pa. Metaphysics, epistemology, ethics, aesthetics, philosophy of religion, philosophy of politics. Kalimutan ko yung last. Politics, philosophy of religion. Nakalimutan ko isa. Pero 7 yun. Okay. Actually, lahat ng mga branches natin sa philosophy na I think na-encounter nyo na ngayon, ay logic pala yung last. Sorry. Sorry naman, Ma'am Agnes. Okay. Lahat ng mga subject na na-encounter nyo, except syempre the history of Western philosophy 1 and 2, yung mga major subject nyo, lahat sila ay actually concerned with truth. Maganda example dito yung ethics. Ethics as a practical philosophy, dealing with man's action, and synonymous with politics. Actually nga, ethics asks the question, what is a valid moral principle? Okay? Pag sinabi natin kasing morality and ethics, they are two different things. Pag sinabi natin morality, ito yung set of standards na inaccept mo, na nakalakihan mo, na tinuro sa'yo ng magulang mo, ng teacher mo, na sabi nila, ito yung good. Pero syempre, di ba? Hindi lang basta-basta ganun yun. Di ba? Si ethics, on the other hand, siya yung nakikriticize sa morality tinuro sa'yo. Tinuro sa'yo ng magulang mo, oy, ang pagmamano po ay mabuti. Si ethics ngayon tatanungin niya, is that correct? Kaya si ethics, ang concern niya talaga is truth. Siyempre, meron din tayong politics. Kaya nga nasabi natin, ethics is connected with politics. Usually, yung mga early Greeks or mga early philosophers like Plato, Aristotle, lagi nilang kinoconnect yung ethics with politics. Okay, si politics naman, tinatanong niya, ano ba ang pinakamagandang way of governing a certain society? So, concerned pa rin siya sa truth. Okay? At syempre, accordingly sa kanila, the proper way of a government to govern a certain society is to adhere to ethics. Kasi syempre, di ba, a good society or a good state is a state that adheres to ethics or morality. So, a moral state. Pero syempre, di nangyayari sa Philippines yan. Okay. Syempre, sa other branches din natin, like metaphysics, we ask the question, what is the being or ano ba yung meaning ng existence? Diba? How do we know that a thing exists? Or how things came to be? Kaya nga metaphysics. Diba? Si epistemology naman, although epistemology asks the question, what is truth? Pero yun nga, how do we know a truth is a truth? So lahat ng branches natin, actually kahit sub-branch yan ng philosophy, lahat yan ay concerned with truth. Yun nga, sabi natin dito, okay, wisdom was the primary virtue. And in the practical order, was identical with prudence. Pag sinabi natin prudence, the ability to use reason to govern and discipline oneself. So yun nga, wisdom helped us to become a person with reason or move with reason and discipline. The habit of maintaining a delicate balance with nature. So for short, a person who is wisdom, kasi nga nanuna niya yung truth, siya din yung taong nagpapakita ng discipline, okay, and act with reason. Okay? So ibig sabihin, yung concern ng philosophy ay hindi lang for the sake of knowledge itself, which is the truth, it is for the sake of being a person with a purpose. Okay. Dito din actually in-explain ni D na meron tayong 3 periods. 3 periods na actually in-explain niya. Ako dinagdag ko contemporary. Kasi nasa contemporary times tayo. Di ba? I think aware na kayo dito. Di ba? We have 4 periods in the Western world of philosophy. We have the ancient, medieval, modern, and contemporary. I think alam niyo naman yan. Di ba? Ancient period is concerned with the idea of cosmocentric because their concern was about cosmos. Kasi nga, accordingly, di ba, ancient period is the time wherein human beings just end up having consciousness. Nagkaroon lang tayo ng awareness. At syempre, parang ikaw bata ka, Bigla ka na naging aware sa paligid mo, curious ka sa lahat ng bagay sa paligid mo. At since wala pang science that time, at philosophy lang ang meron, pagtatanong lang, okay, ayun ang ginawa ng mga ancient philosophers. They ask question about the cosmos. Kaya nga nagkaroon tayo ng Greek mythology, nag-Nordic mythology, Filipino mythology, and so on na mythology because that is the earliest way in which human tries to explain reality. Yun nga lang, di ba ang nangyari, okay, ay naging religion siya. Okay? Or yun nga, naging religion siya. So instead of explaining how the volcano ends up blowing or the earthquake started to shake, we end up blaming the gods. Na later on, ang mga philosophers, nireject na nila ang mythology at tinry nila i-explain ito in a less mythological way at nag-focus sila sa wisdom. Okay? Pero in the earliest wisdom sake. Diba? Tinry nila i-separate yung mythology or the mystical with their philosophical explanation. Nakita natin ito sa mga pre-Socratic philosophers, if you're quite aware. Si Thales, Anaximenes, Anaximander, Anaxagoras, ang daming anak doon. Parmenides, Epicurus, sino pa ba? Empedocles? Okay. Lucippus, kasama ni Lucippus, Atomism. Kalimutan ko na. Diba? Siyempre, after that, diba, tinaray pa rin nila i-separate kasi yung early pre-Socratic philosopher, may halo pa rin mystical yun eh. Diba? Na-reach natin yung highest point of knowledge that time, okay, ay sa tatlo, sa Golden Trio. Diba? Si Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle. Okay? Pero basically, their concern was about the cosmos. Kaya nga, diba, may theory si Plato ng allegory of the cave because that is his explanation of how the cosmos came to be. Kaya may idea din siya ng demiurge. Because the demiurge is, hindi siya God. Pero right, it is the process into which the shadow, okay, or the real object become a shadow sa real world. Kaya nakakakita tayo ng imperfect things dito. It's because the demiurge reflects what is in the world of form. Diba? That is the ancient period. Medieval period naman, on the other hand, ito yung pagpasok na syempre ng Christianity. Kasi di ba, nabuhay at namatay si Jesus, napakalaki ng influence ito sa West. Na kung saan nagbago talaga yung mismong pag-iisip ng tao. Okay, dito, si philosophy na ay naging handmade na siya ng theology. So from philosophy lang siya, sa ancient period, naging handmade of theology na si philosophy sa medieval period. So, sa medieval period, si philosophy and theology are the same thing. Actually, ito yung ginawa ni Augustine at ni Aquinas. Masyado itong na-solidify yung relationship na ito kay Aquinas. Bakit? Okay, dito, since si philosophy and theology ay nag-mix na, or basically equal siya, si reason was the companion of faith. So si philosophy, tinatry niyang i-explain kung bakit kailangan natin magkaroon ng faith kay God. Si philosophy, siya yung ginagamit natin to explain what is afterlife or God himself, di ba? Or how do we prove God existence? Because philosophy, yun nga, philosophy is used to help theology, and yun nga, theology, okay, is basically the answer in which philosophy asks in relation to God. Kaya sa medieval period, di ba, sabi natin, theocentric tayo. Okay. Modern period naman, on the other hand, ito naman, actually before modern period, nagkaroon tayo ng Renaissance eh. Di ba? Ang Renaissance period, ito yung time na umaaklas na tayo sa idea ng medieval. Kasi sa medieval period, di ba, alam nyo naman, nagkaroon tayo ng pagkaputol ng knowledge na to the extent na hindi na tayo nag-philosophize, theology na lang tayo. Okay? At pag sinabi natin purely theology na lang tayo, di ba, instead of explaining how things came to be, we just say, ay, si God yan. God's will yan. So, hindi na tayo nag-rationalize. So, nangyari, yun ang Dark Ages na medieval period, kaya nagkaroon tayo ng Renaissance, na gusto ng mga early philosopher that time, na bumalik tayo sa ancient period. Balikan natin yung Golden Trio. Okay. Na kung saan, yung Renaissance na ito, nag-lead ito sa modern period. Na kung saan, syempre, yung pinaka-favorite ng lahat ng philosopher or lahat ng mga instructors natin or favorite nyo, si René Descartes. Diba? Sino bang sexo nagsabi na sawang-sawa na sila kay René Descartes? Okay. Na kung saan, okay, si René Descartes is basically, gumawa siya ng method na para sa kanya magkakaroon ng systematic study of philosophy. Ito nga yung emergence of the cogito ergo sum. Na kung saan, naging anthropocentric tayo. From the word anthropo, ibig sabihin, man-centered. Yes, it is man. Hindi siya human, man siya. Okay. So, from ancient, cosmocentric, universe-centered. Medieval, theocentric, which is God-centered. Modern is anthropocentric. Okay. Siyempre, ang daming lumabas na mga philosophers dito. Diba? Like, rationalist. Diba? Empiricist. Alam mo ko sino yung mga empiricist. Diyan lang naalala ko. Then, after that, syempre, si Kant, na ayaw na natin pag-usapan because we cannot. Okay, napakahirap niyang basahin. Then, si Hegel, na sawang-sawa na rin ako kay Hegel. Tapos, syempre, marami pa. Okay. Hindi na actually diniscuss ni D yung contemporary. Pero kasi nagsimula ang contemporary kay Hegel. Okay. Some would say si Hegel ay nasa modern, some would say si Hegel nasa contemporary. Kasi after Hegel, okay, nahati yung mga followers ni Hegel. Na iba naniwala kay Hegel ng absolute is actually God. Okay? Tawag sa kanila right Hegelians. Iba naman hindi naniwala kay Hegel, mali yung kanyang concept ng absolute. Okay, ang absolute ay hindi God, rather it is something else. Maganda example dito si Karl Marx, na sinasabi niya hindi idealism ang nagpapaikot sa mundo, rather it's materialism, di ba? Ewan ko kung nagba-Marxism na kayo. Tawag natin doon left Hegelian. So nahati sila, so dito nagkaroon ng contemporary period. Pero anyways, di naman natin priority yun. Inintroduce ko lang sa inyo. Okay, balik tayo sa modern. Okay. Dahil kay René Descartes, okay, inintroduce niya yung idea, okay, na ang idea should be subjugated to the a priori condition of the mind or the subject. Anong ibig sabihin ng a priori? Diba? Priori, ibig sabihin yan, excuse me, sinisipon ako. A priori, ibig sabihin yan before knowledge, or before experience pala, sorry. Then, a posteriori is after experience. So, for short, a priori is the knowledge that exists inside our mind that does not comes, mali ata grammar ko, from experience. A priori, ay a posteriori naman, are knowledge that exists in our mind that was a product of experience. Okay, di ba? Alam na natin yan. Si René Descartes, pinauso niya yung buwisit na a priori na yan. Okay. Siya yung nagpauso niyan. Paano niyo na-reach yun? Sa favorite nating lahat, cogito ergo sum. Diba? Nagkaroon tayo ng cogito ergo sum. It's because na-realize ni René Descartes, the subject, the cogito, is not something we get from experience. It is something that is inside our mind na tagunga lang. Kasi nga, di ba, meron tayong tinatawag doon, devil, di ba, si René Descartes na sinasabi. Yung, kalimutan ko, anong term niya doon? Na kung saan siya yung mismo nagke-create ng illusion, di ba? Na ang knowledge daw is something, the deceiver, yes, the great deceiver. Thank you for that. Okay. Na kung saan siya yung nagke-create ng illusion. Na akala natin, ayun nga, siya yung nag-illusion sa atin. Kaya nagkaroon tayo ng methodic doubt. Pero, na-realize ni Descartes na since ang deceiver ay nag-work siya sa a posteriori, yun nga, knowledge after experience, na-realize niya, meron pala tayong a priori, yung cogito ergo sum. At since nakita natin yung a priori, doon nagsimula si René Descartes ma-build up yung kanyang foundation of his philosophy. Di ba? After proving the cogito ergo sum, na-explain niya yung substance, na-explain niya yung external world, na-explain niya yung God. Di ba? Ang galing ni René Descartes. Di ba? Ang problem lang dito, di ba? Ang problem of dualism, di ba? Dualism, the problem, hanggang ngayon, ay problema pa rin. Problem of dualism and the problem, and the problem of solipsism. Okay. Di ba alam natin ang problem of dualism? Kasi nahihirapan, or may maraming philosopher, hindi nila tinake kung paano na-connect si cogito kay substance. Pag sinabi kasi nating substance is, or body, diba, tawag niya doon extension, hindi na-satisfy yung mga philosopher kung paano in-explain ni Descartes yung kanyang explanation how the cogito is connected with the body. Diba? Because the mind is different from the body. It cannot be the same thing. Okay. Yung difference na ito, si Descartes mismo nagsabi niyan. Ibig sabihin, kung dalawa pala yan, paano sila nagko-connect? Diba? Ang sagot ni Descartes, pineal gland. Ang problema dito, ang pineal gland is still a gland. It is part of the body. So, how does the mind connects with the pineal gland? Kasi katawan lang rin yan eh. Okay. Sasabihin niya, another gland. So, nagkaroon tayo ng infinite regress. So, nag-lead siya sa philosophy of the mind na subject. Okay. Pero yun nga, yun ang sagot ni René Descartes. Diba? Because the mind and the body are two different things. Paano siya nagko-connect? Another thing din, marami ang philosopher na hindi sila na-satisfy on how René Descartes explained other minds. Sabi niya, if the other body or other people who look like me, acts like me, maaring may mind din sila. Hindi sila na-satisfy doon, kaya syempre nagkaroon tayo ng problem of solipsism. Okay? Parang nagkaroon tayo ng alienation. Okay? Okay, na hindi natin ma-justify that we cannot justify how other minds exist. Diba? Although, problema yan ng philosophy of language and philosophy of mind, hindi ko na pag-uusapan yan. Okay. Siyempre, di ba, balik ulit tayo sa ating topic. Okay. Siyempre, yung sabi nilang climax, okay, of the modern period, na kung saan nahati nga sa contemporary period is, sabi nila favorite ko daw si Hegel. Hindi ko naman favorite si Hegel. Nagkataon lang na kailangan ko ng philosopher. So, no choice ako. Pumili ako. I agree. Si God lang ang sasagot. Ang sagot kasi hindi deceiving si God. I agree with that. Yung tawag nila, ontological God. Ayun ata yung term ni Descartes doon. Na kinuha din ni Kant. Mga peste sila. Okay. Kaya din, solidify yung idea niya, cogito ergo sum. It's because of this ontological God. Oo. Actually, sila lang nag-aaway-away. Dahil hindi na tayo sumasama dun eh. Kaya dapat mag-drop na kayo sa philosophy, charot. Okay. Ayun nga. Na-reach natin yung climax daw ng modern period kay Hegel. Okay. Si Hegel, na favorite ko daw, na hindi ko naman talaga favorite, wala lang talaga akong philosopher na mapili, pero yun nga, ewan ko bakit si Hegel ang pinili ko. Just like sa iba dyan na gusto mag-thesis ng Heidegger, ewan ko sa inyo, mga napakahirap basahin. Kasalanan naman talaga ni Hegel. Majority ng ating problema ngayon ay Hegel. Kaya nagkaroon tayo ng philosophy of language dahil kay Hegel. Nagkaroon ng kahatian sa Vienna Circle. Ano ba yung isa? Kaya nagkaroon tayo ng continental philosophy, kalimutan ko yung opposite niya. Kaya nagkaroon din tayo ng critical theory. It's because of Hegel. Yeah, we should normalize Hegel. We should blame Hegel for everything. Anyways. Oo. Okay, yun nga. Kaya nga, na-reach daw natin yung climax of this modern period kay Hegel. Kasi si Hegel, ang filosofiya niya ay gumawa siya ng system na kung saan tinatawag niyang somewhat, term lang ni dito somewhat dialectical. Pero tandaan po natin si Hegel, hindi sa kanya talaga nanggaling ang dialectic. Nanggaling ito kay Fichte. Okay, nanggaling ito kay Fichte. Okay? Nauna si Fichte at sino ba yung isa? Kalimutan ko, hindi kasi sila relevant, charot. Kalimutan ko yung isa. Okay. Na sila talaga ang nag-conceptualize nun. At mas nauna sila kay Hegel. Ang ginawa lang ni Hegel, hindi talaga siya gumamit ng thesis. Hindi siya gumamit ito. Antithesis and synthesis. Hindi siya gumamit niyan. Pero ang way niya of explaining this guys is somewhat similar sa thesis, antithesis, and synthesis. So yung mga later interpreter ni Hegel, sila lang yung nag-connect na, ay baka dialectic si Hegel. Kasi nga kay Fichte. At yun nga, baka nga na-influensyahan si Hegel ni Fichte. At nakalimutan ko isang philosopher, sorry na po. Okay? Na kaya sinabi nila, ay si Hegel, yung thesis, synthesis, and antithesis. Para siyang credit grabber. Galit talaga kay Hegel, no? Pero yun nga, in-explain niya ang Geist. Okay, Geist or the spirit, pesteng spirit niyan, as something that was revealed or reflected, or sabihin na natin, kasi ayokong gamitin yung term na to, unveiled, shown, ewan ko, by the reason itself. Pero na ibig sabihin sa reason? Reason is a product of the combination of consciousness, which is awareness of the other, parang simple term na lang, and self-consciousness, awareness of the self. So kung makikita nyo dito, parang lumalabas si consciousness, si thesis, si self-consciousness, kasi siya yung nagko-contradict ng ng thesis, ay si antithesis, si reason, ang synthesis. Parang same explanation ko sa inyo ng tension, di ba? Between the past, present, and future sa philosophical inquiry. Basically, yun lang yung sinasabi ni Hegel. Pero ang tawag niya doon is consciousness, self-consciousness, and reason. Kasi daw, every time we think of something, okay, it's always concerned with something outside of us. Ito yung consciousness. At si self naman, tayong cogito mismo, tayo ang nagme-make sense doon sa tension na meron sa outside. So every time nagko-connect tayo or we try to justify the connection between the self and the consciousness, nagkakaroon tayo ng reason. Ito yung rationality. Kung ano mang explanation natin dito. Tapos kung ano man ang napoproduce natin kay reason, okay, nare-reflect natin siya through spirit or action. So halimbawa, kung ang culture natin ngayon ay feminism, okay, it is because it is a product of reason, kaya naging Geist siya. Okay? Kasi si feminism, hindi naman mabubuhay yan without rationality. Okay? Siyempre, before feminism, di ba, may patriarchy. Or yun nga, may patriarchy pa rin ngayon. Yun ang consciousness. Si antithesis, si feminism, which is product of the cogito, kung sino man nag-start niyan, okay, nagkakaroon tayo ng tension or yun nga, unveiling, connection of both, nagkakaroon tayo ng reason, Okay? Na dapat ganito ngayon ang equality natin, kaya ito'y nagiging guise natin. Nakikita natin siya sa culture natin. Okay? But the thing is, when it comes to Hegel, okay, medyo naging problematic lang ang kanyang filosofiya kasi number one, naging systematic siya. Paano naging systematic? It because it tries to explain everything or reality based on the relationship of his somewhat dialectic. Ang culmination kasi actually ng philosophy ni Hegel is the Catholic Church. Ito yung highest form. Bakit Catholic Church? Actually, before you go with the Catholic Church, nag-start muna yan sa man and woman. Then, kasi nagkaroon na ng unification ng man at woman, naging family. Then sa family versus state. Tapos after state, nagkaroon siya ng state versus God. Bakit God ang higher kumpara sa state? Because the God has a higher knowledge kasi nga a priori siya kumpara sa state, a posteriori. So si God, ang end niya, at that time, sa panahon ni Hegel, Catholic Church ang nangingibabaw na state or na religion. Kaya sabi niya, God daw yun. Pero tandaan po natin, ang guise ni Hegel is not fixed. Hindi po yan fixed. Example lang yan ni Hegel. Okay? Pero anyway, systematic si Hegel. Ito ngayon ang naging problema. Kaya pumasok ngayon, yun nga, mo, René Descartes revolts against reason and faith. Diba? Sinabi ko tayo kanina, reason must now be subjected to a priori conditions of the mind and subject, kaya nga cogito ergo sum, diba? Si Immanuel Kant, inadapt niya yung kay René Descartes na a priori conditions. Okay? Ayoko nang, tumalon kasi ako, hindi ko na-explain si Kant. Okay? Na nag-lead sa problem ng distinction between noumena and phenomena or the antinomies of the mind. Kay Hegel naman, yung dialectic-like process niya, nakaka-explain ko lang sa inyo. Okay. Ginawa ni Kierkegaard, actually, right Hegelian siya, pero I'm not quite sure if he considered himself like that. Inadapt niya yon. Okay? Na ang buhay ng tao is from a physical or the self to the state to God. And in order for you to reach God, you have to do leap of faith. Kasi kay Hegel, in-explain lang niya yung parang dialectic process eh. Di ba? State versus God. Sorry, Kierkegaard, aesthetic ata before God, hindi ko naman kasi sa mastery. Pero in order for you to reach God, yung highest form kay Hegel kasi nga a priori si God, leap of faith. The literal leap of faith. It is something na hindi natin malalaman because it's purely faith. Okay? Kinuha ni Kierkegaard yun. Okay, mahirap explain si Kierkegaard. Kalimutan ko mag-note sa kanya. Pero yun nga, ayun actually basically ang kanyang filosofiya. Nakalimutan ko yung 3 stages niya na yun. Pero it is similar to Hegel's concept of this dialectic-like process. Okay. So ano nangyari? Kaya pumasok ang existentialism. Although before we go with existentialism, ang dami-dami nangyari. Lumabas ang philosophy of language kasi nga peste si Hegel. Ano pa ba? Lumabas yung continental philosophy, yung mga taong that tries to make sense Hegel. Okay. Lumabas si Marx. Diba? And so on and so forth. Okay. Yung isang grupo ng mga tao, sabi nila, wait lang, lumabas na lang tayo kay Hegel. Pag natin sagutin na kung ano problema ni Hegel, okay, tumingin na lang tayo sa ano kaya nating malaman. Kasi nga, ang problem kay Hegel, gumawa siya ng system. Diba? Yung system or progress-like system that tries to explain everything. Kung alam mo na yung everything, ba't ka pa magtatanong? Right? Just like God. If God creates everything, why ask question? Just ask God. Diba? If you know everything about Hegel, just use his dialectic-like process. Diba? Dito pumasok ang existentialism. Diba? Existentialist is not so much a philosophical system as a movement. Rather, it is an attitude or a frame of mind. Anong ibig sabihin nito? Kasi nga, ayaw nila ng system. Kasi nga ang system, para sa kanila, it leads to somewhat a ineffective authentic experience of the world. Sorry, click ko. Ay! Okay. Kasi syempre, paano mo ma-explain yung experience mo if nakabase ka sa isang system? O sige, kaya pala siguro nagkakaroon ako ng ganitong care. Halimbawa, for the animal, kasi nga, yung animal is the consciousness at ako, yung self-consciousness, nagkakaroon ng dialectic-like exchange ito, kaya nagkakaroon ako ng care. Yung synthesis pala both nun is care. Ganon. Diba? Ayaw nila ng ganon. Kasi it separates us from this tawag doon, experience. Sabi nga, the existentialist philosophers are very much, oras na, very much against system. As a reaction against Hegel, kasi nga peste si Hegel, they abhor philosophical system and philosophize in an unsystematic, though not inconsistent matter. So, yun nga, ayaw nila kay Hegel. Sino pa ba yung mga philosopher na gumawa ng system? Actually, si Hegel lang eh. Okay. Kaya, sabi nila, mag-focus tayo sa existence natin, na later on explain ko. Number 2, the question of what is the meaning of man's existence is for them more important than the answer. For they do not agree on the answer. Yun nga, Hegel would say na ang man's existence is through the revelation or the, kalimutan ko talaga yung term ni Hegel eh, the unveiling of Geist through reason, di ba? Sabi nila dito, kasi nga sabi ko sa inyo, ang dami nag-away dyan eh. Sabi nila, wag na tayo tumingin doon. What is important, okay, then the answer is, yun nga, yung existence na lang. Wag na natin tanungin how it came to be. Kasi kay Hegel, i-explain niya how it came to be eh. Okay? Sabi niya, no. Okay? Sabi nila, it is not that the existentialist thinker do not have an ethics, a notion of the highest good or value, but their ethics for the most part is intertwined with ontologies and philosophy of man. Take note po, yung ethics kasi ni Hegel, connected siya sa idea na as long as you are doing this connection, yun nga, man, woman, man, state, or family, state, then state, God, as long as you are following this system, sumusunod ka doon. Kasi hindi yung concept niya ng freedom eh, as long as sumusunod ka doon. Like the woman, kasi yung concept ni Hegel ng woman is definitely passive at immanence. Nasa bahay lang siya kasi daw sabi ni Hegel, biological kasi daw talaga ang babae nagpapakita siya na dapat pang bahay lang siya. Ang lalaki naman on the other hand, nagpapakita daw siya ng karakteristik na panglabas siya. Kaya transcendence ang lalaki. As long as ginagawa daw ng woman at man ang kanilang role, ito daw yung ethics nila. That is good. Pero at the same time, kapag ginagawa din ng man and woman ang kanilang role, that is also their freedom. Okay. Kaya sinabi dito, hindi naman ibig sabihin na against sila sa system ni Hegel. Okay, wala silang ethics. Iba po yun. Okay, kasi nga, inisip nila, hindi eh. Kay Hegel kasi, systematic siya, may ethics yun eh. As long as you're following this structure of society, na sumusunod sa reason at sa guys, everything is in structure. Pero ayaw nga na existentialist ng system, right? Okay? Ayaw nila yon, kaya i-clear din nila, hindi ibig sabihin na against kami sa system, wala kaming ethics. Meron silang ethics, pero in a different form of how they reveal it. Okay? Kaya dahil dito, nagkaroon tayo ng two kinds of existentialist philosophers. Okay? Two camps. The theistic groups and the atheistic group. Actually, itong dalawang camp din na ito, pwede din nating sabihin, pero hindi ito yung left and right Hegelian eh. Okay. Although, si Soren Kierkegaard, questionable nga kung Hegelian siya or hindi, or yun nga, pero ito yung existentialist, na they do not like the system. Although si Soren Kierkegaard nga, systematic pa rin siya. Okay. They try to answer the purpose of human beings by not creating a system. And by solely focusing on the existence or how a person came to be, yun lang, doon lang sila nakafocus. So ito, yung theistic group, sila Soren Kierkegaard, Karl Jaspers, Gabriel Marcel, and Martin Buber, naniniwala sila sa existence without system, pero may God. Okay. Na kung ano man yung relationship nila sa God na yon, depende yun sa kanilang filosofiya, pero may God. Sa atheistic groups naman, like Jean Paul Sartre, Albert Camus, Maurice Merleau-Ponty, syempre nakafocus sila sa existence, pero walang God. Kung may God man, it's a product of human being, pero hindi siya something na existing talaga like the theistic group. Okay, si Martin Heidegger, siya lang yung tao talaga naging consistent na ayaw niya talaga sumunod sa system. Okay. Yun nga, Martin Heidegger refuses to be identified with any of the two camps for simple reason that the question of God. He claims that it is beyond his phenomenological approach. Ito naman. How can you explain God if you're only a human being? Pero, tinaray explain nyo ng theistic group. Sige, tingnan natin. Okay. Try ko. Si Daisy nagdudulas. So, kung ganon, ano ba yung 5 common features of an existentialist thinkers? Like I said, they are against Hegel. Or, di lang si Hegel, sa system. Kawawa naman si Hegel. Diba? Ano ba yung primary characteristics? Why existentialist is an existentialist? Number 1, existentialist thinkers attempt to philosophize from the standpoint of an actor rather than from of a spectator. Yun yung pagkakamali ni Hegel. In-explain niya ang reality since system siya eh. In-explain ni Hegel kasi yung system. So, spectator siya. Hindi mismo siya yung actor explaining how the system work. Although nag-start si Hegel sa phenomenology of the mind, pero how his philosophy ends up, naging spectator na siya. Okay. Okay, this is due to the fact that the problem considered by existentialist philosophers or thinkers arise out for their personal experience. Mapapansin nyo din, actually, hindi lang si Hegel eh. Sila Plato, Aristotle, Descartes, actually si Descartes nagsimula siya, hindi naman siya nagsimula sa actor eh. Spectator pa rin siya eh. Okay? Na nag-end up being a spectator. Hindi siya naka-focus doon sa authentic experience of the self, how does the world came to be. Nag-start siya siguro doon, pero nag-end up siya as a spectator. Kasi na-explain na niya yung God kung how this system came to be. Diba? For short, existentialists are means to universalize the personal and the human. So gusto ipakita ni existentialist na actor tayo, na tayo mismo ang nagpi-philosophize. Okay? Na kung saan yung experience natin ay dapat natin i-promote. Na hindi lang dapat tayo yung, halimbawa, nagme-memorize kung ano yung part of a human body or how this organ system works. Rather, titingnan natin, tayo mismo nag-act kung paano nag-work yung internal organ system natin. Although that's very difficult kasi, di ba? It is something passive na nangyari sa katawan natin. Pero kasi gusto ng mga existentialists, okay, tayo mismo nag-act out nun. Okay. Next, the existentialists use the phenomenological description, each in his own way, to explain, rather than to explain the hidden structure of human experience. Isa din tong problema kay Hegel. Di ba? Although, in-explain niya kung paano siguro yung tension or how the reason came to be, okay. Pero yung standpoint pa rin niya is from a spectator. Hindi niya pinakita na ito yung cogito ko, ito yung experience, ito yung nakikita ko sa consciousness, nag-process yan sa inside my mind. Kaya, ito yun. In-explain yung description of his personal experience. Rather, di ba ano ginawa ni Hegel? In-explain niya kasi ito yung structure. Ayaw yun na existentialist. Kasi nga existentialist, nakafocus sila sa experience mismo ng tao, yung phenomenological, kaya ayaw nila yun. Kasi nga, sabi ko sa inyo, what is better to understand human being is to understand yourself. Okay. And by the means of Hegel and the early philosophers, hindi self po or the personal experience ang ine-explain nila. Rather the structure. Okay, yun ang problema sa kanila, lumalayo sila. Siyempre naman kasi, di ba, since na-start ko na to, nag-start ako sa self ko, usually yun nagagawa ng mga early philosophers eh. Na-start ko yung sarili ko explaining this certain phenomenon. Siyempre, try ko na i-explain yung God or something that is beyond me. Ang problema dito, since it is something that is beyond ourselves, nagiging structuralized na siya. Okay? Just like how Descartes started from cogito ergo sum, nag-start yun sa personal experience niya kasi rationalizing yun. Pero di ba nag-go beyond siya, nagkaroon siya ng substance, nagkaroon siya ng extension, nagkaroon siya ng God. Di ba? At paano niya in-explain yun? Hindi by the personal experience of how God makes sense to him. In-explain niya yun, kasi ito yung logical way. Okay, ayun nila yun. Number 2, existentialist philosophers are basically philosophies of man, stressing the subjectivity of man. Sorry but man, kasi during that time na pinublish ito ni D, ang man is generative term. Yes, man implies male, pero since generative term to, ini-imply din daw niya woman. Pero ngayon, di ba, since nagiging gender sensitive na tayo, that human na yan. Pero anyways, okay. So what does it mean? Sabi nila, yun nga, the existentialists do not deny that man, to a certain extent, is an object. Siyempre, object pa rin tayo. Especially, if you're going to look to other people. Object sila. Ikaw kasi ang subject. Okay. Pero, aware din ang existentialist na ang ating human body, okay, or the body of the other person you are looking at, hindi ito yung nagko-constitute ng kanyang primary essence. Or hindi ito nagko-constitute ng kanyang humanity. Yes, that other person is a human, pero at the same time, may body siya at the same time, that person is not their body. Okay? Hindi lang siya yung katawan. Meron din siyang something na hindi natin nakikita sa katawan. Kaya nga dito nauso yung idea na private mind, public body. Kasi ang public body, ito lang yung bagay na nakikita natin. At sabi nga ng mga existentialist, ang public body ay hindi lang ito yung tao. May private mind siya. Yun nga, the existentialist thinkers hold on the subjectivity of man. Man as the original center, the source of initiative, who has depth, who transcends determinations, the openness, and the giver to the meaning of the world. So obviously, nagme-make sense siya kung bakit siya yung source of the initiative kasi tayo lang naman talaga yung actor. Okay? Na tayo ay mayroon tayong depth kasi maliban lang sa katawan, di ba, meron din tayong capability of thinking further that is beyond our body. Later on, ako explain ko kung bakit naging ang tao ang nagbibigay ng meaning sa world. Pero nga, it makes sense. Okay. In their ontology, especially for the existentialism, the existentialists do not deny the reality of the object, but emphasize the subjective. So, ibig sabihin, hindi natin dinedeny na may katawan tayo, kasi may katawan naman talaga tayo. Okay? Di tulad ni Plato, di ba, mas priority niya yung form, okay, kesa sa body, di ba? Sa existentialist, kinukonsider niya yung katawan, pero yung katawan na to, na objective, may subjectivity to. Sabi nga nila dito, the object is that which objects to the consciousness of man, and yet object is meaningless, senseless without man, or senseless without the subject. To be subjective is not necessarily naman to be just subjective. Hindi ibig sabihin subjective tayo, subjective lang siya. Pure me lang. Rather, it should be the only way to be the objective. To talk meaningfully of the world. Kasi later on, I-explain ko din naman sa inyo sa future discussion natin, wala nang distinction ng subjective and objective sa phenomenology and existentialism. Kasi nga tayo nagbibigay ng meaning of the world. Okay? So yung subjective definition natin ng plato, although yes, subjective ang plato, pero at the same time, yung plato na yun, nag-reveal siya ng platoness. Kaya natawag natin siyang plato. So yung subjective natin ng term sa isang bagay na yun, nagre-reveal din kasi yung bagay na yun na siya talaga yung bagay na yun. Kaya yung subjective na term mo at yung objective na nakikita mo, nagko-connect sila, it's because of that thing. Kaya walang distinction ang subjective sa objective. Okay, later on, na-explain ko naman yan. Pangatlo, existentialist philosophy stress on man's existence on man as situated. Ano ibig sabihin ng situated? Naka-place tayo sa isang certain situation na wala tayong choice kundi nandoon tayo. Halimbawa, di ba? We are situated, di tayo makakatakot sa Pilipino talaga tayo. Na ang pagiging Pilipino ay napapaligiran tayo ng mga corrupt officials, napapaligiran tayo ng mga magugulong holdapan, crimes, di ba? Situatedness natin yon. Kasi Pilipino tayo. Dito tayo pinanganak. Pero syempre, pag pinanganak kang American, situated ka naman sa American. Di ba? Walang katapusang gun violence, di ba? Deportation, okay? Rise of unemployment sa kanila, di ba? Student loan debt, and so on and so forth. So, iba-iba tayo ng situatedness. Take note, ang pagiging situatedness mo ay hindi lang siya limited sa isang, kasi part ka ng Filipino. Okay. Pwede kang situatedness because of your socio-economic life. Di ba? May iba sa inyo situatedness na mahirap yung buhay. Di mo na ma-deny yun na mahirap ka. Kasi pinanganak kang mahirap, wala kang choice doon. Pero, di ba, you have to live with it. Kaya iba naman, di ba, situatedness sila na mayaman ng pamilya nila. Di ba, anak sila ng DPWH or contractor. Okay? So, tawag doon. Syempre, di ba? On how we approach that situatedness is different to each other. Kasi iba-iba nga tayo ng situatedness. Pero hindi ibig sabihin na mayaman silang lahat. Pare-pareha sila ng experience of this situatedness. May ibang mayayaman na masaya, may ibang mayayaman na hindi. Kasi nga, it still depends on your situatedness. Okay. With this, okay, ang mga philosopher, meron silang explanation of the situatedness of a person. Sabi ni Soren Kierkegaard, the situation of a single, finite, and unique individual who has to make a decision before one and infinite God, in fear and trembling like the situation of Abraham. So for short, nakita nyo, ang situatedness ni Soren Kierkegaard is man versus God. Kasi nga naniniwala sa Diyos. So ibig sabihin, the only way, ay nga, we are created by God, and God is a jealous God or a forgiving God. We have to be in fear and trembling in approaching God. Yun ang situatedness niya. Kay Martin Heidegger naman, on the other hand, yung concept niya ng situatedness is like Dasein. Their being. Being thrown to the world to realize himself doomed to potentialities, the extreme, which is death. For short, bigla lang tayong tinapon sa mundo, being, tawag natin doon small letter b, na kung saan dapat i-realize natin ang ating potentialities or doomed to our potentialities. Pero kapag nagkaroon ka ng awareness, in a simple term, okay, pero hindi ng term ni Martin Heidegger, magiging yung small letter b mo, magiging big letter b yun, being, or for short, Dasein, because you're aware na of your existence, okay. Hence, hindi ka lang yung taong tinuro sa mundo, but rather, you are existing with the world. So for short, ang situatedness ni Martin Heidegger is a person who is not conscious. Kasi nga bigla na tayong tinapon. Pero kapag naging conscious ka, okay, Dasein ang tawag sa'yo. Karl Jaspers, take note, na-explain ko lang to based on my non-expertise. Okay. So, correct me if I'm wrong. Pasensya na kay Ma'am Chloe kung mali. Ko-correct naman nila yan later on. Karl Jaspers, on the other hand, sabi niya, ang situatedness natin is to exist, to exist, hindi exist. To exist is to coexist. to participate in the fullness of being of God through love, fidelity, and faith. So ang situatedness ni Jasper ay hindi lang tayo binato sa mundo na mag-isa tayo, rather we have to coexist with other people. Pero yung existence natin with other people ay dapat through the guidance of God. Yun nga, through love, fidelity, and faith. So ang situatedness niya, binato tayo dito, pero, di ba, dapat mamuhay natin na kasama yung ibang tao and with God. Kasi si God ang nag-create sa atin. John Paul Sartre, yun nga, ang situatedness natin dito is to exist, is to be condemned to freedom. Ang situatedness kasi ni Sartre, just like Heidegger, binatulan tayo sa mundo. Okay? Na walang meaning. Okay? Na kung saan, malaya lang tayo. Kasi nga biglaan tayo binato eh. So ang freedom natin, ang ating situatedness, unending freedom. Pero once you use your freedom in its fullest sake, okay, mawawala yung situatedness natin. Pero yun nga, binato ka sa mundo na walang meaning, malaya ka lang, ay na situatedness mo. Ang problem mo, how do you use that? Kay Merleau-Ponty, sabi niya, retorts by saying that man is condemned to meaning. Same sila halos ni John Paul Sartre, pero si Merleau-Ponty is more concerned with, tawag doon, with hindi siya concerned sa freedom kasi masyado. Although, kay Sartre, tayo ang nagkikreate ng essence natin, kasi kalayaan natin yun. Kay Merleau-Ponty, hindi siya masyado nagko-concern sa freedom. Siguro may freedom siya, pero mas concerned siya doon sa meaning. Na connection ng self or subject with the object. With the self and self, with the self and the world. Okay. Yun nga, mas less sa kanya ang freedom, more on sa kanya yung horizon on how you perceive, for example, the door. Okay, bakit ganun yun? Ano yung meaning behind that? Kay Albert Camus naman, to exist is like Sisyphus, pushing and rolling the stone to leave the absurdity of life. Anong ibig sabihin yun? Life is absurd. We are situated in this world full of contingencies, contradictions, sufferings. Ano situatedness natin? So how do you live in that?